kids, especially because they lived near Green River. And Green River is where I learned how to swim the old-fashioned way, where they take you out to the dock and throw you over into the deep end, right? A lot of good memories there. And if the river flooded, which it usually did about every year or two, soon after the waters receded, my grandmother would always tell my cousin and I, now you boys stay off the riverbank today. It's too cold to swim. And besides, those flood waters bring up all kinds of water moccasins. So y'all stay off the riverbank. So you know what we did, right? Yeah, right to the riverbank. As soon as Mama Polly or Mama Carrie turned their backs, we were gone. We were down on the riverbank. Doing what? Looking for water moccasins. Why? Who knows? Did we know that they were poisonous? Yes. Did we know that we were at least a half an hour from the nearest emergency room? Yes. Did we care? No. Why not? Because we were fearless water moccasin hunters. We never found any. We don't know what we would have done if we had, but I can tell you that probably their bite wouldn't be nearly as bad as what happened to us when Mama Polly caught us on the riverbank, which happened a few times, and that never ended well. Today, the only time I want to see a snake is on TV or in a zoo. So I guess you could say I have given up snake hunting. I gave it up, and the Lenten season had nothing to do with it. Now, we've had a few good laughs, right? And we can all laugh at my lack of common sense in that story. It's okay. I'm self-aware enough that I can laugh at myself. Of course, there are those days when something happens and I'll just shake my head and say to myself, you know, Danny, the fact that you are still alive today makes a very strong argument for the existence of God, right? A little nervous laughter there. A few nodding heads. Why? Because some of you have thought the same thing about yourselves, haven't you? Yeah, well, I share all this as an example of what you might call the fearlessness of youth. Not always the best choice, depending on the situation, but fearless nonetheless. Observe children. Look at children. They laugh, they cry, their emotions are just out there. They don't care who sees it. They create, they dance, they do all kinds of things. The old show reminded us, sometimes kids say the darndest things. Whatever's in the mind comes out of the mouth, right? And it's fun to watch how fearless they are, unless it's your children or your grandchildren. And then sometimes it's a little scary, Then over time, things begin to change. The adults in our lives tell us that some of those words that we've been saying and some of the things we have been doing and some of our behaviors really are not always appropriate. Even though we learned those same words and behaviors from the exact same people who are telling us now we can't do it, right? It's no longer appropriate. We're taught very particular expressions about gender norms, dress, roles, and sexuality. Boys don't cry. Boys don't write poetry. That's for sissies. Girls can't be tough. Girls shouldn't play sports. Girls can't fix cars. A woman's place is in the home. Marriage is only between one man and one woman. Some of us were taught that we should not question authority under any circumstance, even if that authority was abusive. And then there's the challenge of peer pressure. Oh, my word, peer pressure. Now, it's not only a challenge for young adults or, younger people and teens and preteens, although I think peer pressure is harder on younger people than it is on us adults. Yet at the same time, adults face peer pressure as well. A lot of us are expected to marry well, to have children, to do well in life, to stay out of trouble, with the law. We're expected to have really perfect kind of lives, and our kids are supposed to be successful and perfect, at least in public. Even seniors, like a lot of us sitting here today, or like me standing up here, we face some peer pressure too, right? Have you seen the commercials? Man, if you believe the commercials about senior citizens, we're all well-to-do and we retire really successfully and we plant vineyards and we travel the world and we do all kinds of great stuff. We retire successfully and then eventually we're expected to just fade away or at least not be too much trouble. And what happens? What happens is a lot of times we buy into that. What I'm saying is we bow to the expectations of family, friends, religion, government, you name it, we do it. Even when our spirits tell us, when our inner guidance says something's just not quite right here. So why do we do that? I believe it's fear. In large part. Now, I want to say something about fear here. There are some healthy forms of fear out there which have helped us survive, throughout thousands and thousands of years. Our ancient ancestors dealt more with wild animals and the dangers of the wild than most of us ever will. Then again, a lot of us deal with a lot of political craziness that our ancestors probably never had to deal with. There are neighborhoods that we know are not safe for us to walk in. There are places we should not travel today. And we also know that there are some people who are not safe for us to be around, either physically, emotionally, or spiritually. We know that there are substances that, for our health, we shouldn't really be putting in our bodies. Those, however, are not the things I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about is the fear from living from our fullest and most authentic selves. I'm talking about the fear of embracing and expressing who we are at any stage or any age of life. And we're afraid to do it because of what others might think or say. Consider this. Can you imagine the amount of art and music and spiritual expression and scientific discoveries that have been suppressed throughout history just because people bowed to family, peer, religious, and government-based censorship? Can you imagine? Can you imagine the possibility? What could be? The amazing discoveries even today across the spectrum of life, if we could just let go of unhealthy fear. Now, please, when I say, understand, when I say let go of unhealthy fear and to live from our fullest and most authentic selves, I am not saying that we go around and disrespectfully thumb our noses at everyone and the world around us. I'm not saying that we should just rise up and proclaim that it's all about us all the time and we're always right. And if you disagree with me, everything is rigged and you are persecuting me. I'm not saying that. That's part of that unhealthy expression of ego I talked about a few weeks ago. What I am saying here is that to continue our positive spiritual unfoldment and growth, it is critical for us to rise up and to live from our fullest and most authentic selves. It's critical for us to rise up and stand in our truth without fear about what others may think or say or do. And I believe it's possible for us to do that without being obnoxious about it too. Okay? And trust me, I learned this lesson the hard way in my life. When I was a young person in the Pentecostal church many years ago, I rose up, I stood in my truth, and I spoke my spiritual truth at that time. And that's okay. That's what I was taught. The problem was I thought my truth was the truth. And because I had the truth, that had to be your truth and your truth and it had to be everybody's truth, or you were going to hell. I complicated my problem because I didn't just think that stuff, I said that stuff. Even when people didn't ask me about that stuff, I said that stuff. Oh, I was an annoying little soldier for Jesus. And to be fair to myself, I had good intentions. I had very good intentions. I was doing what I was taught. I believed it. I stood up, and that's what I was taught in my youth. You stand up and you do you. And I did that. I had great intentions. I was just really annoying. I was borderline obnoxious at times. So, what are some ideas for letting go of fear and living from our fullest and highest potentials at any age or stage in life? Oh, and not being obnoxious about it would probably be a bonus too, right? So, I'm going to start with letting go of fear. Our master teacher, Jesus, was a pro at this. And some of you are probably sitting there thinking, well, sure, Jesus was a pro at that. He was Jesus, right? And that's true. And some of you already know where I'm going with this, right? Gospel of John. What did Jesus say? For those who believe, they can do what I do. They can do the works I do, and even greater works will they do. So we really can't use that reasoning, right? Because Jesus did because he's Jesus. Well, we can do stuff too. How do we do it? I believe we start by activating the power of our faith. Now, in Unity, we teach that that is our power not only to see, but also to know that all things are possible through the Christ consciousness, which is in all of us, expresses in us, through us, and as us. Not only that, it's more about believing. It is more than just believing. In Unity, we teach that this type of faith enables us to begin molding and shaping our lives and substance in a way that enables us to put that faith into action. What in some faith traditions they say is putting feet to our prayers. So we've got activating faith. Now for the not being obnoxious about it part. One of the best tools I have found in this instance is to remind myself of unity principle number 2. Unity principle number 2, in a nutshell, is that we all have divine DNA, right? The Christ consciousness within each of us. Now, we all express this divinity at different levels at different times in our lives, and sometimes we forget who we really are. We forget that. At our core being, we forget. And when we forget, and when a bunch of us forget, we receive what we see a lot in the world today: the polarization, the war, the violence. When we all forget who we are at our core, that like Jesus, we are fully human and fully divine, things go sideways. So when that starts happening in our lives, our responsibility, I can't do it for you, you can't do it for me, but our responsibility is check ourselves. Back up, remember who we are at our core, and start course correcting. Respond from a place of love and healing and peace as much as is possible. And I know that is easier said than done. Trust me on that. But that is the call. That is the responsibility. Finally, find your people. Find your people. Now, you know what we teach in unity, right? We just heard it all over again. God is within us, expresses through us, and as us. We are never alone. But sometimes, folks, we need what has been called God with skin on. We need each other. You know, there's a story in the Gospel of Mark where Jesus is in the middle of a crowd and preaching and teaching and healing, you know, being Jesus, just living from his fullest and most authentic self, doing what he was meant to do. And his family didn't understand. They were afraid he was losing his mind, and they wanted to, as scripture says, restrain him. His own family, his biological family, didn't understand what Jesus was about. So out of concern, they wanted to suppress his expression. They wanted to dull his shine. Sound familiar to anybody? Jesus, however, was having none of it. They said, Jesus, your family is here looking for you. And Jesus said, well, who's my family? Who's my brother? Who's my brothers and sisters? Those who do the will of God. That's my family. Those are my people. In unity, we teach God's will is the same for everybody. And that is that we live from our best and highest selves, that we come from a place of love, peace, and healing. In unity, that is God's will for all of us. It is the same. So when I say find your people, I mean, let's find those people who support, encourage us, lift us up, and yes, appropriately challenge us and call us on our stuff. People who challenge us to do God's will, to live from our best and most authentic selves, to come from a place of healing and hope and peace, to experience the abundant life that Jesus talked about. And if those people include part or all of our biological families, all the better. That's a bonus, right? That's great. And if not, oh well. Okay? I'm just saying here, it's okay if the biological family doesn't understand who you are and what you're about, your spiritual truth in your life. That's okay, because you know what? In unity, we respect everyone's path, whatever it may be. That does not mean that you dull your own shine and you don't let other people do that for you. You, me, all of us, we still continue to stand in our own truth. And if our families cannot handle that, if our friends cannot handle that, we bless them and we continue to stand in our truth. All right? So the lessons for today: let go of unhealthy fear. Let go of people pleasing and living down to others' expectations of us. Let's live up. Let's find our people, our true families, and let's do the will of God by living from our highest and most authentic selves. Let's come from a place of hope, love, peace, and healing. In other words, you do you, boo. Amen? Amen. And so it is.
So let's take all that information, take it within, breathe it in on a little bit deeper level. Be comfortable as ourselves, letting go of all that is less than love. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. it to God. Release control. Give it to God. Release control. I'm letting go. Now sing it with me. Together. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. I give it to God. Release control. Give it to God. Release control. I'm letting go. I'm letting go. I'm letting go.